This is Lecture 3 for Class 7, using Headnotes to limit Keycite results. In this lecture, we are going to check the validity of a case using the Keycite system in connection with Headnotes. It is not uncommon to read a secondary source and arrive at a set of cases on your topic of interest. For example, here we are looking at an annotation in the American Law Reports on the use of the Internet to establish personal jurisdiction over a non-resident defendant. The purpose of the annotations is to collect and compare case law. And you will need to look at those cases and determine their validity. For our example, we're going to use a case known as Worldwide Volkswagen versus Woodson. This is a fairly well-known U.S. Supreme Court case concerning long-arm jurisdiction. Long-arm jurisdiction allows a state to obtain personal jurisdiction over non-resident defendants. This case was brought by the owners of a car against the dealer from whom they had bought the car in New York and the car dealer's wholesaler. The car owners suffered an accident in Oklahoma. The defendants were New York corporations that had no business concerns in Oklahoma. A divided Supreme Court held that the Oklahoma courts could not exercise jurisdiction over these defendants. Merely placing an item in the stream of commerce does not make it foreseeable that a car sold in New York might be in an accident in Oklahoma, and so Oklahoma could not claim personal jurisdiction over Worldwide Volkswagen. When we open the case on WestlawNext, we are immediately confronted with a yellow flag and some language about abrogation. For WestlawNext, most everything of interest does have a yellow flag. Yellow means to check things out. A red flag means that the case has been overturned or is no longer good law for at least one point of law. If you click on the little Keycite legend here, the Keycite symbols are explained in brief detail. In addition to the yellow and the red flag, there is a blue striped flag indicating that a document has been appealed to the U.S. Courts of Appeal or the U.S. Supreme Court. So when it says no longer good law for at least one point of law, what exactly does that mean? Well, remember the headnotes that we looked at in State v. Hicks. This case has many more headnotes representing the different points of law discussed in the case. Though this case is known mostly for its reasoning regarding personal jurisdiction, there were other things going on. For example, Headnote 2 is discussing foreign judgments. This is one point of law. Jurisdiction is another. As we scroll down, we can find headnotes that specifically address factors to be considered in a long-arm jurisdiction analysis. For example, in Headnote 4. And if we look over to the West Digest topic in key numbers, we see that this bears the digest topic of courts and is assigned number 106. We can go down further and see the key number analysis as well. Actions by or against non-residents in long-arm jurisdiction, factors considered in general, contacts with forum state. So this headnote might represent the item that I am interested in researching. And if we scroll down, we can see that digest topic and keynote repeated in different headnotes. For example, number 5. Number 6 is also organized under the digest topic courts, but it is slightly different because it's dealing with corporations and business organizations. If I was specifically researching long-arm jurisdiction in connection with corporations, this might be the headnote I would want to chase down, or I would be interested in further analysis by other courts. Headnote number 7 also has the digest topic and key number that I'm interested in, and I might want to select this for further research. As a reminder, you can click on the headnote number to take you to the place within the case where those points of law are discussed. For example, headnotes 4 through 7 are all discussed together in this area of the case. If we click on the headnote numbers, we're taken back to the headnote before the opinion. As a reminder, You can also click on the Digest Topics and Key Numbers and run a search for this point of law in other jurisdictions. Those cases may or may not be citing Worldwide Volkswagen, but they will be discussing this point of law. If you want to see what cases have cited back to Worldwide Volkswagen, we need to go to the citing references and see that there are over 25,000 citing references for this one case. But there are only 8,247 cases. So let's see what we can do with those cases. First, let's look at the gray bar up here. You have your choice of sorting, and mine is set to depth of treatment highest first. The depth of treatment is indicated by the number of green bars that Wes assigns to the citing cases. They're identified here under the depth column. Cases with 1 or 2 bar treatments indicate a brief mention or a citation without any discussion. Cases with 3 and 4 bars tend to have a lengthy discussion. You also can change your display to have more or less detail. My display is set to the middle, and this is the default on WestlawNext. Now let's look at the columns going from left to right. In the first column, the treatment column, this tells you the treatment in which this case holds Worldwide Volkswagen. So, for example, Richardson, which is labeled here, has called Worldwide Volkswagen into doubt, and that's considered a negative analysis in WestlawNext. Note that even Richardson has a yellow flag. Remember, the flags next to the case names are attached to that case and not to Worldwide Volkswagen. So if you were going to look at Richardson, you'd have to look at the Keycite results for this case as well. The green quotation marks is an indication that Richardson is citing Worldwide Volkswagen. The date and type columns are self-explanatory, and we've already discussed the depth of treatment. And finally, the most important column is the Headnotes column. In this column, we are being advised as to which points of law in Worldwide Volkswagen that Richardson was discussing. See that they are discussing 14 and 16, and if we hover our mouse over it, it reminds us what that headnote said. Notice that headnotes 4, 5, and 7, the ones that I am interested in, are not listed here. So this analysis in Richardson does not concern headnotes 4, 5, and 7, those factors considered in long-arm jurisdiction. We can use our filters off to the right to narrow these 8,000 results to something more manageable. And we could do that as we did with the key citing references when we looked at statutes. First, we can select the jurisdictions that are relevant to our analysis. Here I'm selecting the Supreme Court, the Ninth Circuit, and the District Court of Hawaii. I'm not going to select the state, tribal, or international courts for this example. Then I'm going to select 4 and 3 bar treatments, and I would select this if I want to see a true analysis of the legal issues that are being discussed. If I was limiting my research only to check to make sure there isn't some very negative treatment out there I need to worry about, I would look at all the bars of treatment. Next is the most powerful tool here, and this concerns the Headnote Topics. Remember, the digest topic I was interested in was courts, and there are over 3,000 headnotes under courts in this set result. I can specify the 3 that I'm interested in by clicking them in this list. I'm interested in number 4, number 5. I'm going to skip over 6 that dealt with corporations and select number 7 before hitting my select bar. And next you have to make a decision about what it is that you're trying to get out of these Keycite results. There's an option here to view negative only, and you would use this if you really wanted to delve into the validity of the case and to see how the different jurisdictions are treating this case. You can also hide all the negative opinions so that you would only see those cases that were following Worldwide Volkswagen. For now, I'm just going to leave all of them selected and to do that I just don't check off anything. And finally, I'm only interested in reported cases, so I'll make that selection. And when I apply my filters, hopefully I will have a much more manageable case set result. And here I'm looking at 11 citing references. And if I open up one of the cases, you can see how you can maneuver through the case using those headnotes. Here, this case, disagreement recognized by Hatton v. Chrysler, Canada. Again, you would need to go and review that case to see how it would affect your interpretation. As a case from a Florida state court, it's not likely to be highly relevant to you here in Hawaii. If you click on the green arrows, it will take you to where Worldwide Volkswagen is cited in the case. And you can use those arrows to maneuver through these 11 case results. I want to go back to my list and change my filters a little bit. I'm going to undo them. Sometimes you're trying to develop an argument or an approach, and you may want to remove your jurisdictional limits to see how these issues are treated more broadly across many courts. And you could use your search within results keyword search to help you. For example, stream of commerce. Maybe I only want to see discussions of the stream of commerce analysis within these cases. And I can use my Boolean operators here. A Boolean operator we haven't used yet is the /25 or whatever number, which stands for within 25 words of. So for example, if I want to look for cases that talk about the stream of commerce, in my quotation marks, within 25 words of the word manufacture, or manufacturing, or manufactured, I can use the root of those words and add an exclamation point. I can use as many Boolean operators as I want in the search box, and I could make it as precise as I want. I may, for example, want to limit my cases to a discussion of manufacturing and products liability. And you want to make sure your spelling is correct. And then I can hit continue. If you have a large result to search through, WestlawNext is going to give you a heads up, letting you know it might take a little longer than usual. So here I skip my jurisdictional limits, but because I want a good analysis, I'm still going to select the 3 and 4 bar tabs. And maybe I still only want to see reported cases. And then I can apply my filters. This is a different way of using your Keycite results to advance your case law research. When my filters run, I see that I now have 41 cases. And there was the first case I looked at before. Richardson is still in the running. My keywords now are highlighted in purple color so that I could easily follow them as I maneuver through the cases. Now I can go back to my initial document, and if I wanted to see, for example, how the lawyers crafted their arguments in this case, I can look at the filings. The filings will give me access to the briefs. And since I'm interested in the validity of the case, I would want to look at the negative treatment. 104 cases is kind of scary. However, all of the cases bear yellow flags. None of them bear red flags. The Supreme Court has not overruled itself, nor has there been any legislation that has struck down Worldwide Volkswagen. You'll see this tag in the West results, most negative. There's really no rule as to which case is given this tag in a negative treatment result. This is an editorial decision made by WestlawNext. These cases that we're looking at are negative citing references. There's another category of negative references that aren't part of this Keycite result because they don't exist. This would be negative direct history. Negative direct history is an indication that worldwide Volkswagen would have negatively been impacted by events or decisions within its line of appeal or litigation and proceedings. You can track that line of appeal by clicking on the History tab, and we'll see that there are 12 items entered in the History tab as well as related references. The case we're looking at is this one, B. And you could see that there are different flags in the treatment. This was earlier in the line of appeal, and that's why it didn't show up under your negative direct history. This was the case that came out of Oklahoma. So if we go back and we look at the negative treatment, we don't see it entered here. Each of these cases has to be looked at individually, and you need to decide as a researcher how much effort you're going to put into tracking them down. Part of that decision can be made by looking at the jurisdiction where the case is coming from, and this is why it's important to be able to read those citations. Part of it is going to be by the treatment, abrogation recognized by NTEC. So something here has replaced the analysis of Worldwide Volkswagen in their decision. And you're going to look at the depth of treatment. This case only has 2 bars, so Worldwide Volkswagen wasn't really discussed very heavily in NTEC, even though it has one of the headnotes that we were very interested in. And these are all ways that you can decide how to chase down the validity of Worldwide Volkswagen.